Welcome in, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that, well, it literally affects every single one of us: how we navigate our cognitive health. I want you to completely forget those old, gloomy narratives about getting older, because we're going to explore a paradigm-shifting guide to building a resilient mind and ultimately, lifelong cognitive vitality.
Because, it's kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? Growing older almost always comes with this lingering, sometimes totally unspoken fear. We all ask ourselves at some point, will I lose my memory? Am I going to be able to think clearly? Or is a foggy brain just my unavoidable destiny? Look, it is a completely valid fear to have. Okay, let's dive into this because I am here to promise you that modern neuroscience paints a much, much more hopeful picture. We actually have a science-backed blueprint for healthy aging.
To get there, we've got a really clear roadmap for today. We'll start by busting the aging brain myth. Then we'll look at normal aging versus dementia. Third, we're unpacking the absolute magic of neuroplasticity. Fourth, we'll cover the 4 pillars of brain health. Then we'll get into building your cognitive reserve. And finally, we'll wrap up with the power of daily choices. This whole 6-part agenda is designed to alleviate that anxiety and empower you with highly actionable lifestyle choices.
So let's jump right in with Section 1, the aging brain myth, and debunking the inevitability of decline. For the longest time, the widespread misconception was just that, well, losing your cognitive abilities was a toll you simply had to pay on the road of life, that a major decline was completely inevitable. But the reality? The reality supported by decades of research is that you can actively influence how your brain ages. Now, we obviously can't stop time, and the goal isn't to have the exact same brain you had at 20 forever. But modern neuroscience absolutely empowers us to build a brain that remains adaptable, highly resilient, and totally capable of supporting an active, independent life for decades to come.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, normal aging versus dementia, and knowing the difference.
One of our absolute biggest sources of anxiety is thinking that every single time we misplace our keys, it's the beginning of the end. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference right here. Normal aging might mean occasionally forgetting where you placed your glasses, but dementia, which is an actual disease state, involves forgetting what those glasses are actually used for. A massive loss of brain cells is absolutely not a normal part of getting older. Dementia is more about frequently repeating questions, getting lost in super familiar places, or entirely forgetting how to follow a family recipe you've cooked for years.
So what's the actual reality of normal aging? Well, yeah, your processing speed might slow down just a tiny bit, and you might occasionally forget a word before it suddenly pops into your head 10 minutes later. But look at the bright side. Your vocabulary generally stays stable, or it even improves. You develop way better emotional regulation, increased wisdom, and incredibly sharp pattern recognition. Older adults successfully compensate for that slight dip in speed by drawing on, literally, decades of accumulated knowledge. It's pretty amazing.
So how exactly is the brain able to compensate so well? That brings us to Section 3, the magic of neuroplasticity, the adaptable brain.
If there's a superhero in our biological journey, this is it. Neuroplasticity is simply the brain's ability to reorganize itself. It does this by strengthening your existing neural pathways and creating brand new ones in response to our experiences. For years, scientists honestly believed the adult brain was just fixed, done, cooked. Actually, scratch that. They thought it was completely hardwired and unchangeable. But we now know that is 100% false. The adult brain is never fixed. Every single time you learn a new skill, practice an instrument, or challenge yourself intellectually, your brain is physically adapting based on how you use it.
So, how do we actively harness this neuroplasticity? Let's look at Section 4, the 4 pillars of brain health, your daily blueprint.
Let's move to our daily blueprint and see how this builds a rock-solid foundation. It comes down to 4 clear steps. Step 1, move your body. Step 2, feed your brain. Step 3, prioritize sleep. And Step 4, protect your whole body. Instead of driving yourself crazy looking for some miracle supplement, these are the proven, everyday lifestyle habits that work together to preserve your cognitive function.
Let's zoom in on Step 1, move your body. When you're out for a brisk walk or lifting weights, you aren't just working your muscles. You're massively increasing cerebral blood flow and producing something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as literally miracle fertilizer for your brain. It powerfully supports your existing neurons, it strengthens your synapses, and it encourages those crucial new neural connections to sprout up, which heavily supports your learning and memory.
Now, what's really interesting about this next statistic is that number right there, 20%. Your brain only makes up about 2% of your total body weight, but it completely hogs roughly 20% of your resting energy. It is a hugely hungry organ.
And because it demands so much energy, the quality of the fuel you give it really matters. That's step 2, feed your brain. An optimal brain diet is packed with plant-based foods. We're talking vegetables, berries, beans, and nuts. These are loaded with antioxidants that fight off oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. You also really need omega-3 fatty acids to build your brain cell membranes. If you're eating a whole food or plant-based diet, you can get fantastic vegan-friendly omega-3s from flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts. Or, you might even consider a microalgae-derived DHA supplement as you get older.
Step 3 is prioritize sleep. You really want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every single night. Deep sleep is essentially your brain's essential housekeeping phase. While you're snoozing, you're consolidating memories, and this amazing mechanism called the glymphatic system literally washes away metabolic and cellular waste from your brain. To make sure you get that deep, restorative sleep, try to maintain regular bedtimes, keep your bedroom cool and dark, and definitely limit that late afternoon caffeine.
Finally, step 4 is protect your whole body. Listen, your brain completely depends on the health of the rest of your body. Cardiovascular health is deeply intertwined with brain health. So you've got to manage your blood pressure, control your blood sugar, and maintain a healthy weight. Oh, and please don't ignore this one. Treat hearing loss. Ignoring untreated hearing loss can actually accelerate cognitive decline. Why? Because your brain ends up having to devote so many extra resources just trying to process sounds, which deprives you of meaningful social stimulation.
Okay, now that we've got the daily pillars down, let's look at the big picture in Section 5. Building your cognitive reserve, the ultimate backup system.
Think of cognitive reserve as your brain's emergency backup generator. It's a structural defense system that you build by continually challenging yourself mentally. Having a robust reserve allows people to actually withstand biological, age-related changes in their brain long before any negative symptoms ever pop up. It's exactly like having a deep battery reserve when the power starts to flicker.
So how are we supposed to actively build this reserve? Well, the magic word is lifelong learning. This means reading, learning a new language, picking up a musical instrument, volunteering, or staying deeply engaged in meaningful work. And the goal here isn't just doing the exact same crossword puzzle every morning. You absolutely need novel experiences. Novelty is what forces the brain to build stronger, more flexible, and highly resilient neural networks.
But part of keeping that reserve strong is also managing the stuff that drains it. We have to manage stress and stay connected. Chronic stress pumps out persistently high levels of cortisol. And get this, chronic cortisol can actually shrink your hippocampus. That's the exact region of your brain critical for forming new memories. Plus, humans are inherently social creatures, right? So social isolation is a massive risk factor for decline. Protect your hippocampus and your memory by getting out into nature, maybe practicing some meditation, and most importantly, maintaining deep, meaningful relationships.
And that brings us to our 6th and final section, the power of daily choices and creating long-term results.
Look, there is no single magic pill, superfood, or quick brain game that guarantees cognitive health forever. So the crucial point is this: your brain health is a reflection of thousands of small choices made consistently over many years. Think about this daily foundation. Move regularly, eat nutrient-dense foods, sleep well, control your blood pressure, challenge your mind, and stay connected. Individually, yeah, they're pretty modest habits, but combined, they create a profoundly powerful foundation for lifelong cognitive resilience.
It really all boils down to this reality. Your future cognitive health isn't determined by a single decision. It's shaped by the everyday habits you practice over a lifetime. Every single time you go for a walk, eat a nourishing meal, or sit down to learn a new skill, you are sending a vital, living message to your brain that it is still needed, it's still being challenged, and it is still growing.
You have the absolute power to shape your cognitive destiny, and it starts right now with the very next choice you make. So I want to leave you with this one simple, yet genuinely powerful question. What message will you send your brain today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Start investing in your amazing brain today, and I'll see you next time.